There it goes.
There we go. It's live. Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jay and
Monica.
and we are back live in full MFing effect on our go-to, or these aren't go-to webinars. We wish they were go-to webinars, but they're actually cool hangouts. Monica and I just got back last week from Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, Delray Beach area in Florida, where we had an absolutely spectacular seminar with Dr. Osborne, Ray Care, former Navy SEAL, Cash Care, and we had about, what, 20, I think we had 26 attendees, and we actually had more than 30 people attend the seminar from like some local people that just showed up on the last minute, but it was spectacular. What did you get out of it?
Too much to mention. It was great. There was a lot of, I think that anybody who decides they want to amp up their life, be in better health, and just create a better life overall, it's a definite must attend.
Yeah, we definitely recommend anybody who's going to watch this on the rewind. We know most of you guys are watching these things on the rewinds and reading the transcripts. We'll link to it, but there's an awesome video that we produced. And just so everybody knows, the seminar going forward is going to be called SOAR, which stands for SOAR, Serious Optimal Anti-Aging Regimen. And it is, honestly, it really is nothing like it. I mean, imagine having the world's foremost anti-aging / TRT or HRT optimizing physician, a very, very famous ex-U.S. Navy SEAL, and then, of course, Monica and I working with people on their exercise, how to exercise, correct exercise technique, and also Monica with mindset. So it's an awesome, awesome 2-day seminar. At the last day, the tail end, we do some Navy SEAL mindset and training on the beach, which was absolutely sensational stuff. It doesn't really matter. Any fitness level can attend. It's not for like elite people. I know a lot of people probably think that because Monica and I look the way we do that it's for elite people. It's not. It's for any fitness level, and it's definitely something for everybody. So a lot more about it on the blog. Again, SOAR Seminars is what it's going to be called. We'll be talking more about it, but enough of a plug for that. Real quick, I wanted to mention something that I bought yesterday, and I'm holding on to it right now. Hopefully you can see it. These are actually called the Jabra wireless Bluetooth Beats. Pulse Wireless is what they're called, and they actually measure your heart rate. They detect your inner ear. When you put these in your inner ear on your left side, it detects your heart rate, and these are seriously one of the most amazing technological pieces that I've ever dealt with. I mean, like, I'm a big, audiophile guy, and I really, really, really love audio technology, and I'm always on the latest and greatest Bluetooth stuff, but this thing is amazing. Like, you can literally put these in your ear, and not only can you exercise with them and listen to them, and it calculates your heart rate, but you can actually, Scott, you can use these to talk to clients or anybody throughout the day. I mean, like, it's got like some sort of, it's got some sort of noise compression technology in it. It's Dolby, and it sounds honestly like a really, really high-end, expensive wired headset, like what you're using right now. Like, literally, you can have phone conversations with people, and they sound perfectly
Except you don't look
crystal
like you're
clear.
speaking to aliens like you do.
So anyway, I'm going to blog about these things on the site. They're kind of expensive. I mean, they're latest and greatest tech. You can get them on Amazon for like $169 right now, but they're amazing, man. I
So they're just hooked up to your cell phone?
Either.
You what?
They're just hooked up to your cell phone?
Yeah, they're just Bluetooth, hook up to anything. They'll hook up to your computer, your cell phone, your tablet, anything that will connect with Bluetooth technology. And honestly, the sound is insane. And it's noise compression. It's got one of those little algorithms, so it's like soundproof. So when you put them on, it blocks out all the ambient sound. It's amazing. I mean, I've never had anything like these before. I've been telling everybody in the last 24 hours, like, that I know, like, oh my God, you got to get a pair of these. They're just sick. So anyway, I'll write about him. So Dr. Osborne just texted me. He's about to call up, and I know that Leonard's going to call up when he can. He's got some stuff with his daughter. So let's just jump right into the questions. I think the first question was, what was the first question? I know that the other two, there's one about
How realistic is it to expect to have six-pack abs as an everyday person?
Right.
Depends on where they start, though, as an everyday person. I mean, if they're hugely overweight,
Go ahead.
good luck. No, I mean, you can go ahead and finish. I'm just saying it depends on where they start. If they're very lean as it is, I think it's a lot easier to attain them.
Well, I think anyone that's thinking they can have six-pack abs and they're overweight is unrealistic, just plain and simple. I mean, until you get into shape, and then you can start thinking about getting six-pack abs, right? I mean,
right. Right. No, that's a great point. I actually wrote a blog. It's actually a very famous blog on the internet. I kind of recrafted it for Monica and I's FabFit Over 40 site about 6 months ago or 8 months ago. But it's called "Are Six-Pack Abs Possible?" You know, or I think it's "Six-Pack Abs Realistic." And it's a very, very famous blog. It's been trafficked on the internet. If you search anything about six-pack abs, it's on the first page. You know, millions of people have honestly probably read the article. But what you said is right, okay? You can't expect to be some fat person that, you know, Joe Sixpack, who eats pizza and drinks beer all the time, you know, that's going to have six-packs. But I think for the average person, the mindset that they believe is that they can't get six-pack abs. And that's completely false, okay? Anyone, regardless of where they start at, regardless of their fitness level, regardless of like how athletic they are or naturally coordinated they are, can develop six-pack abs. And, you know, as Dr. Osborne jumps in here in a second, I'm sure he will, it's just really a function of body fat, okay? And it's really, that's all it is, okay? And obviously to lower your body fat, to see your abs, to have an actual visible, you know, abdominal section, you have to lower your body fat to a level where you can see them. But everyone has a core,
I'm not showing you my abs,
a core
sorry.
musculature, a core abdominal.
Monica.
No, Monica has amazing abs, but I mean honestly, everyone has them under. It's just a layer of body fat. So
yeah, I have like really strong abs, but then I have this layer of Bud Light on top of it.
well, we're gonna work on getting rid of that.
A layer from what,
But-
Mr. Slut?
But it's true. And I honestly think that most people have a mindset that they can't get abs, and it's because, oh, you know, I don't look like that. But anyone can get abs. It's not like some impossible goal. It is a function of lowering your body fat to a level where you can see your abs. But everyone, like you said, has an ab, or basically they're called the rectus abdominis. Those are the names of the muscles, but they're all sitting there under a layer of fat. Some people obviously have a lot of fat. Some people have a little bit of fat, but it's very possible. It's not unrealistic. You know, 6 months to 8 months, anyone can have an amazing set of abdominals. The funny part about abdominals, though, is genetically everybody's musculature along the abdominal region or the abdominal wall, and you have different muscles along the side, you have different muscles right here, but they're all different. So when a person lowers their body fat level to a level, you know, low enough that you can see the abs, it's interesting to see how people's abs come in differently. So there's multiple different abs. So sometimes you'll see a person that has like a really awesome set of abs, like Dr. Brett, who just logged in, who has like almost like what is called a 6 or an 8 pack, and then you also see somebody that has a really defined set of abs that can only see maybe 4 or 5. So it basically comes down to anatomical function and anatomical design. So everybody has a different abdominal musculature. What's up, Doc?
Dr.
How are you guys?
How are you?
I'm doing well. Doing well.
Dark,
Glad to be here.
like the 50 Shades of Grey movie.
Can you turn on the light maybe in the background?
Yeah, it's sort of funky over here. I'm sitting in this, like, I don't know. It's weird. Anyway.
We were just
Are
talking
you in
about.
the dungeon?
We were just talking about.
No, I just got out of the dungeon, actually. It was brutal. You know what I did? We were with, we were using the log outside.
Oh,
nice.
nice. How many guys did you have show up?
We had 2 other guys. It was me, myself. It was me, Melissa, Ryan, Jordan, and yes, it was just the 4 of us, and of course McKenna.
Awesome.
You know, it was good. We had fun. No, we didn't.
Nice.
Sure, McKenna helped a bunch.
She did. She was doing we had her doing the farmer's carries, the farmer's walks with the 2.5 in each hand. Literally, she was running up and down the driveway with Melissa.
His little girl is so freaking adorable.
Yeah, she's beautiful, man. She's awesome. So real quick, Doc, we were just talking about the first bullet point, which was, you know, how realistic is it for somebody to have six-pack abs? And I think we answered the question pretty good. You know, the answer was anyone can have it. It's obviously more a definition of how you can lower your body fat to a level so that your abdominals are visible, but that it's not something that, you know, an average person who gets confused and thinks, oh, I'll never have six-pack abs, that I can't have them. You know, the explanation was that you, of course, can have them. You just have to lower your body fat. Is there anything you want to add to that?
No, and that's absolutely correct. I mean, we're all built the same. We all have them. It just depends upon one's body fat deposition, and there are various types of body fat deposition sort of patterns that we see. Obviously, male to female have different types of or different locations where they accumulate fat. Men obviously accumulate fat. You know, we tend to get the beer bellies. Okay, women tend to get the fat around their this gynecopoid type of fat distribution, if you will, and that's really around the hips and in the butt. That the women are trying obviously to shed that fat by virtue of well, mistakenly doing things like squats and and deadlifts and trying to do these gluteal exercises in order to minimize or lower the fat masses in those areas. But what we don't quite understand as scientists is how, number one, why fat is deposited in different places, amongst the sexes or between the sexes, and between individuals of the same sex. And along those lines, or sort of as a corollary to that, we don't quite understand how fat is preferentially burned from a particular area we have no control at this point. In other words, if you we have no control in how fat comes off. It comes off in a defined pattern per an individual. In other words, you may lose the fat on your butt first. Right. You may be an individual who does that versus an individual who loses the fat from their stomach first. Like if you ask Melissa, she always says, "I lose the fat." She says, "I always lose the fat on my ass last." Okay, right. And she loses the fat, in her abdominal wall, relatively early on. Okay, and that's a common problem to this date. Like I said, to this day, we don't understand why, how that's controlled. It's obviously under genetic control, but don't be fooled. Do not believe that by virtue of the fact that you are doing a lot of work on your gluteals, okay, or you're doing hamstrings, you're doing leg curls, you're doing squats, you're doing deadlifts, that's necessarily going to preferentially burn fat in those areas. It's not, okay? Right. It's not going to do that. You are going to get, obviously, an enhanced fat burn, and some of the intramuscular fat, okay, within the gluteals and within the hamstrings are going to be called upon in order to fuel the muscle contractions when you're doing those exercises. But by virtue of the fact that you are doing those exercises does not mean that you are spot reducing. I'll use that term because that just doesn't happen. Your fat is going to come off of your body, and I'm not talking about the intramuscular fat because there is fat within muscles. I'm talking about the fat around muscles, okay, the subcutaneous fat. That's going to be called upon in different ways, in different patterns, per person, per sex, per individual. So it's not going to be the same for me and you, Jay, as an example. Okay, right. We will lose fat in different places. That said, everybody has the ability to develop this six-pack, this wanted six-packs, abs, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, it just depends upon how much you are willing to lose body fat. And remember, once you are catabolic and you are losing body fat, you're also going to be losing muscle. So in order for somebody to have abs, okay, an individual that weighs 200 pounds, okay, and is not an ectomorph, okay, when their abs are going to be very, very readily or easily visible. If you have somebody who's more mesomorphic, okay, they may have to lose, if they're 200 pounds, they may have to go down to 175 pounds in order to be able to get that chiseled look, okay? And you have to figure that out for yourself. But you are going to lose some muscle mass by virtue of the fact that you want this six-pack, these six-pack abs, okay? And you have to be willing to accept it. If you're not willing to accept that, you won't have those abs unless you're very, very, you're sort of freakish and you happen to have the good genes and the good makeup, and you don't happen to store a lot of fat along your abdominal wall. But most people, particularly men, do. They do. So it's a little bit difficult, and that's why, listen, we want everything that we just don't have, the things that don't come readily. So everybody wants the six-pack, and it definitely, in the majority of people, okay, unless you happen to be freakish or genetically, gifted in that way, the majority of people are going to have to work at it, and they're going to sacrifice both muscle mass and strength.
Scott, how much do you weigh right now?
217.
How tall are you?
Scott's kind of mesomorphic. Like he's a combo of endo meso, so he's kind of like he's muscular. He has like a stocky build, but he can also hold fat pretty well. So he probably, for him to have a ripped etched six pack, he'd probably be about 185, 180. I would assume.
How tall are you? How tall are you, Scott?
I'm like 5'10 and a half, and I think my last time I got my body fat percentage checked, it was like 27 or something like that.
Yeah, you're gonna have to trim it, trim it way back. What's your waist size?
I wear between a 34 and a 36, depending on the pants.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna have to trim back. Like what Jay said, you're gonna have to be down there, okay? And it's gonna cost you some. It's gonna cost you some size and some strength. But everybody has to train with a particular goal in mind. So you can get it. They're there. Okay, they're the same abdominal wall as I have. It's just you have to unroof that that six pack. Okay, and typically, and I don't know if because I came in a little bit late. I don't know if Jay and Monica had discussed this, but we usually use the number 8 or 9%. Okay, body fat that you're going to have to get yourself down to in order to really be able to see the abs, and that's not a chiseled abdominal wall. That's they're visible, they're there. Okay, right. You can see them. Okay, you can see sort of this this outline. If you want to get something that's really chiseled, you're talking about 4 or 5% body fat.
Right. So let's say that someone does get down the body fat. Where would you have them focusing their exercises and to really chisel those abdominals, the abdominal muscles?
That's the point. Like what I was saying before. Okay. Aside from doing, and Jay will tell you some leg ups or some flutter kicks and things like that. It is really, and this is another myth. It is really not a function. It's not a function of you working your abs and then you get abs. No, that's a big. Abs are nearly 100% diet.
Yep. It just, as I was saying before, Scott, it's literally lowering your body fat to reveal what's already genetically and naturally there. So
that's so crazy.
I know.
It's such a common misconception. It's like every exercise person you've ever talked to in your life is like, do these ab workouts, and it's just.
No.
I'm kind of like taken back. It's mind blowing to me right now.
No. If you just look at somebody who's very thin, as an example, and these typical ectomorph and ectomorph / hard gainer people that have a very high degree of insulin sensitivity. Okay, those individuals are going to have a hard time putting muscle on. Okay, they have a very low amount of small amount of subcutaneous fat. Those are the individuals who are typically going to have that very lean, ripped up look that is often desired, but it is not a function of them doing 1,000 sit-ups a day. Okay, that's just a complete mistake. It's a farce. It's a fallacy. Okay, it's just not. It's just not correct. It's only a function of half those people can eat ice cream all day and they'll still have the same abs.
Right. Scott, like. It is confusing, and a lot of people, there's so many myths and misnomers. But like with our workout, like with Brett's workout, and obviously Monica and I follow it now religiously, and we're going to have millions of people, knock on wood, following it soon. But we always finish every workout 3 days a week with hanging leg raises, okay? And those are very difficult to do, even for someone like Monica and I who have very advanced muscular, abdominal musculatures and development. So those type of things done correctly, for 10, 15, 20 reps, whatever, for 3 to 4 sets at the end of a workout are great, and those will help etch and strengthen and maybe a little bit, cosmetically design, or enhance like genetically what you have. But Brett's 100% right. There's literally. You take like the biggest, strongest bodybuilder or strength athlete in the world, and those guys have amazing abdominal development. They may have a little bit of a wall of fat because they eat like bears and they have huge caloric needs, but those guys, they never worked their abs one day in their life, and if they actually dieted and lost all the body fat, you would look at their abs and be like, holy So, because again, it's a function of their training. So,
right.
The abdominal region is, again, genetic, but your training foundationally, like foundational strength movements, ultimately determines like how strong your core, your abdominal region and all that musculature that covers that area is, and how it ultimately looks when you have low body fat.
Yep.
Got it. Go.
That's well said. You know, if you follow, Scott, if you follow the basic movements, okay, you know, the deadlift, the squat, you know, bench press, overhead, but really mainly the deadlift and the squat. Pull-ups also, I would say, are probably tertiary there. You're going to develop an insane amount of abdominal strength just by virtue of doing the movements. Okay, just by virtue of doing the movements.
Yeah.
And as Jay said, you know, you will get a little bit of, you know, honing, if you will, or whatever you want to call it. You know, a little bit of an augmented effect by doing these hanging leg raises, particularly if you do them with straight legs and you do static holds and things like that. And you will feel your abdominal muscles, you know, burning and fatigued out. Okay, towards the end of those, they are advanced. Yeah, and they are going to help. But those unto themselves, I will tell you, are they are inferior. Okay, to doing heavy squats and heavy deadlifts, okay, weighted chins, okay, for your abdominal wall, okay. Right. Power lifters, okay, their strongest muscles in those individuals' bodies, it's not their legs, okay, it's their low back, okay, and it's their abdominal walls, okay. Yep. That's what allows them to move that heavy weight, because when they're squatting and when they're deadlifting, the transition area between the floor, okay, and the bar, okay, is the abdominal and the low back musculature, okay, and you have to remember that. So just by virtue, okay, of what they're doing, they are going to develop tremendously strong midsections, okay, both low back, okay, and abdominal wall. So they're not interested, powerlifters, okay, in what their abdominal wall looks like, okay. The appearance of the abdominal wall, okay, is fine. It's all well and good. It's better to have a strong abdominal wall, okay, and better to have a strong low back, which is ultimately going to be conducive to low back health, okay, in your later years, as an example. If you just want to go and you want to get that chiseled look, okay, it's not even a function of your exercise per se. Yes, the exercises that you do, as an example, in this protocol, which is 5x5 based, are going to help you. But to really get that aesthetic look, it's really less to do with the exercises, okay, which are and more to do with just you leaning yourself out. So it just depends upon your goals.
Hey, Doctor, I have a question for you revolving around women that have had children, because I've had 3 and I have an umbilical hernia, and I know that we Melissa and I speak about that little bit of tummy, you know, that we have, yeah, the pooch. Is there anything that you recommend for that? And like for me,
surgery.
Well, I don't know. For me, like it's a challenge, because with my hernia, it's like there's only so much I can do, and it seems like I can get a little bit stronger, but not like Jay. Jay's like extremely strong with his lower back and his abdominal walls. Right? Yeah, I seem to be weaker.
It's a good question, Doc. She's definitely got, like, you know, laxity in those muscles, because, you know, she had the laparoscopy, which, Scott, is a patch. If you're familiar with a hernia, where they go in and they put like a mesh netting around the hernia muscle, where you have the injury down here and they push it back. So she has that still in there. But is there really anything she can do, Doc, about that, or not?
You know, the thing about it is that there's really not. I mean, Monica is extremely lean, as is Melissa. There's really no solution to that problem. You guys have done a very great job, and you guys are in the 99th, you know, percentile as far as women, you know, body fat wise. I can tell you that for sure. I'm not for sure that there's anything, you know, that you can do, you know, to continue, you know, to reduce that. There's going to be a little bit of laxity, because you guys have had children, and it's really hard to you know, to get that very extreme low percentage of body fat without using a lot of drugs, which is what, as you know, all the female bodybuilders do. So, you know, in the context of health, the answer to your question is probably not much, okay, aside from you know, having it surgically you know, pulled a little bit tighter. But again, you know, that's a decision that, you know, that everybody has to make for themselves, obviously. But you know, to do it naturally, I think is quite difficult, because you're running very low body fat.
The only thing I would say is that the leg raises, though, are helping Monica a lot. Like her lower, like that whole umbilical area that was, you know, normally weak and obviously still lax, and he's gotten a lot stronger. And he's way more stronger now.
I think it's good, though, for women out there that have had children to understand that, because I think sometimes it can play a mental game on us as mothers, because we see all these wonderful fitness models, and we see all these women that are in shape, and it's a challenge for women that have had children to have that perfect ab, like the six-pack abs. So, I think at some point
Absolutely.
you have to, yeah.
Absolutely, Monica. But you also, these individuals that you see on stage, these Victoria's Secret models, blah blah blah. They have 17 kids and they still look. You never know what's going on behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's true.
No,
It's true.
it is. It's just everybody's got different genetics and, childbearing.
And good surgeons.
Yeah, exactly.
Slice.
Right. Well, I always told Monica, I was like, if you were with me before, I would have been like, hey, you're having C-section. Sorry.
Then I wouldn't have had an umbilical hernia. It's all good. Okay.
Anyway, all right, Scott, what's the next question?
All right, well, the next thing that we're going to jump into is healthy eating on a limited budget. So,
Awesome.
yeah, I mean that's a really good thing because I think a lot of people that are in fitness, don't necessarily have a ton of money to spend hundreds of dollars a week on really good organic food that's having the time to prepare it and everything. So, yeah.
It's actually easier and I think cheaper buying your own food and packaging it than it is eating out.
Yeah, so I'm going to jump in there real quick. Again, I push you guys to the blog. We have actually an awesome article on eating on a budget, but and I also point to my good buddy Mike at Danger and Play, dangerandplay.com. He has an awesome article for guys like in their early 20s and gals in their 20s, like who have no money. They're right out of college, they're broke, struggling, whatever. Buy a crock pot. Here's the easiest way you can do this. You can buy a crock pot, and on Sunday night or Saturday or whatever, you can cook up a bunch of like ground beef, ground turkey, even stew beef, whatever, really cheap stuff that you can buy anywhere, in a grocery store. Season it, throw in a bunch of like non-salty stuff, flavoring and stuff like that, and then throw in lentils, brown rice. If you want to cut up some sweet potatoes, it takes a lot more work. And buy all this stuff in bulk and just make it and have it for an entire week. You can. If you want to get real anal retentive and crazy and do meal prep like Monica and I do, and Brett laughs at us, and make the actual Tupperware meals, then that's even better too, and put them in your refrigerator and eat them all week. But if you don't want to be that crazy, you just make all that stuff up. You buy a giant Tupperware dish or 3 or whatever, and you put the carbs in one dish and you put the protein stuff in the other one, or you could even keep it in your crock pot just as long as you refrigerate it. You got enough room in your refrigerator. And Scott, you can eat out of that for an entire week, and I'm not kidding you. Like, you can read it on Mike's site, but honestly, it costs less than $15 a week to eat that way. So I mean, it might become boring, it may become bland to you, whatever, because you're eating the same food, 2 or 3 times a day, or at least twice a day, every day. But hey, you can easily get by very, very cheaply eating like that.
No, I would just say that a lot of people they have this misconception you got to eat for pleasure and eat for fuel. And if you do that, and you do that in the way that Jay's saying, then I think that there's no reason why anybody, no matter how much money you make, can do that.
Yeah, you can go to Doc. You can jump in here a second, but you can go to Trader Joe's or Costco or any place. I mean, Whole Foods is expensive and overpriced, whatever. But Trader Joe's isn't. You can buy, Scott, like bags of ground turkey meatballs, and you can. I mean, honestly, microwaves are to death. But I mean, again, it comes down to convenience and time and all that stuff. You can just throw these things in the microwave and make meals in seconds. And I mean, like a whole bag of ground turkey meatballs at Trader Joe's is like $2.87. And that's 4 meals right there. So I mean, it's not expensive. It's time consuming, and you gotta plan. You gotta prepare this stuff. But it's far better than being that guy who's like, oh shit, I'm hungry, and it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and you drive by McDonald's or In-N-Out, and you go and slam. And then you're eating just crap.
Yeah. Hey, it's like Ray Care says. You can either have excuses or focus on the solution. Figure it out.
Right. Exactly. Anything you want to add, Doc?
No, I think that's a great answer. It does. People have to understand. First of all, buy in bulk is a very, very good thing. Take, divvy up your supplement. Your protein powder that you can go buy at Costco or Walmart or wherever. Okay, which is not going to cost you a lot of money. Okay, take bags of that. Okay, small little Ziploc bags of that, and just use that during the day. To supplement your meals. Prepare your meals, buy in bulk. I think those are great things. One of the things that can't be understated here is the fact that, and I talk about this a little bit in the book, is that health does take work. It's easy, but it does take work. So if you plan properly and you invest the time in your health, and that includes not only being in the gym, but it includes preparing your meal like Jay and Monica, and that it's not an easy thing. You just have to become disciplined. That's going to ultimately be very, very cost effective, and it's ultimately going to allow you to eat those foods that you want to eat, those foods that are conducive to your health long term. So it does take discipline. It's not a hard thing to do, but you just have to develop the discipline, and you have to make health a priority. And if you do that, you'll figure it out, like Ray always says.
Yeah.
Scott, like, what is your normal, and I want to get to you in a second after we answer this last thing, but, like, why don't you tell us right now, like, what is a normal daily diet for you? Like, just tell everybody what you would normally eat. I don't care if it sucks. Just tell us what you normally eat.
No, I mean, I've always been, like, really conscious about, I mean, I try to be really conscious about what I eat, but, you know, it's always been a roller coaster ride for me since I started drinking heavily in college, so it's all been kind of downhill from there.
Like for most people,
Scott,
like for most people. But yeah, tell me like you're doing.
No, so like in the morning, I have this like egg sandwich maker. So I have like a whole wheat English muffin, and I do an egg with some turkey sausage.
Okay, so your whole wheat English muffin blows, but the rest of it's good. What's next?
Okay, and then for lunch, I've been prepping food. So this week I made homemade chicken piccata.
Woo!
I have that.
That tastes good, I'm sure.
Yeah, it does. And then usually there's like a side in there, something I try to like put maybe rice or quinoa or something that's healthy.
Good. Like brown rice or white rice?
Brown rice.
That's good. Perfect. Keep going. It's good. What else?
And then a snack in the afternoon would be, I have these like Nature Valley sweet and salty.
Those are absolutely worthless.
Okay. And then I have non-fat Greek yogurt that I put granola in with strawberries and blueberries. So that'd be a snack tip.
Oh, negative.
Oh my god. So that's my daily.
So good.
It does taste good.
Doc, you want to add anything about that?
And then dinner, I'm always eating something ridiculous. Like I have no idea what I'm going to eat because it's not planned, and then I go and just
splurge.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't splurge necessarily, but it's not something that healthy, probably.
Right. Listen, Scott. You know the like Jay and Monica had said. You know there are a lot of issues with what you're eating, in the context of the fact that just by listening to what you are, you know, sort of your body, your parameters, if you will. You know, you're an individual who's clearly carbohydrate sensitive. Okay, so you're going to have to, if your goal is to lose body fat and sort of unroof that six-pack, okay, you're going to have to shut down your insulin, okay, you're going to have to reduce your insulin signal, you're going to have to lower your consumption of simple carbohydrates, and I will tell you that one of the very, very malignant things that people do, and it often goes unforeseen, so it's sort of this sinister beast, okay, that people think is very, very benign, but it's actually not, is the timing of your food, okay? So if you're going to eat that bad food, okay, like you said, and you're going to eat it early in the day, that's going to be much, much, much less harmful to you overall in relation to your goal, obviously, to unroof that six-pack, okay, than is eating crap, okay, at 8 o'clock at night, okay? And, you know, in a very, very short you know, sort of summary, okay, and I think we've talked about this ad nauseum on previous Hangouts. Your goal is to keep yourself, for you, okay, close to a catabolic state, okay, as opposed to an anabolic state, during which time you're putting on muscle and fat, okay? So you want to keep yourself in that catabolic state or closer to that catabolic state, closer to that calorically restricted state for long periods of time. So if you're eating that garbage meal, okay, at 8 o'clock at night, okay, you can assume that you're not going to be burning fat for at least predominantly fat, okay, for at least the next 4 or 5, maybe even 6 hours. Okay, so that puts you at 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay, 2 o'clock in the morning when you get up, say you get up at 6:30 or 7 o'clock. Okay, you're only burning fat for just, let's say, whatever it is, 4.5, 5 hours. Why wouldn't you just? Here's a little challenge. Okay, I want you to just eat protein, a protein meal, okay, at night. Okay, so swap the garbage, okay, take a chicken breast to work, heat the chicken breast up, okay, and some broccoli, okay, have that at 6 o'clock at night, okay, with some water, okay, and don't eat anything, okay, until the following morning, okay. In a month, you'll be down 20 pounds.
There's no doubt about
With that little switch.
Are you kidding me?
No.
There's absolutely no doubt about that.
No.
100%.
Come
That
on,
is
Scott,
true.
you have a warrior mindset.
And Scott, listen.
Chicken and broccoli? I can eat that every night, man. I'm cool with that.
So then there's no excuse.
One thing though, Doc, I'm sure you left off because I'm sure Scott living in San Diego and being, he does have a girlfriend. He does go out on weekends. He does pound a little alcoholic beverages. So.
Well, yeah, I know I got to cut that out if I want to lose weight.
Right.
You're just going to have to get rid of Scott. You're just going to have to get rid of that basically. If you want to, turn it on, one day a week, okay, or on a weekend day, then fine. But you're right back on, okay. Come Monday, okay. But it's very, very simple to lose weight, okay. As long as you're willing to sacrifice some muscle, some strength, okay. But if you want to just unroot those, that six-pack, okay, I would just make very, very small changes. You don't have to go crazy because most people that go crazy and do these things that are extreme, they sort of fall off the wagon.
Right.
It's difficult. But if you could just make some small changes, okay, in other words, just do these two things. I want you to change the time that you eat dinner, okay, and be religious about it, okay. Just have a protein and a low glycemic index carbohydrate, okay, so just let's say broccoli. I think broccoli is probably the best vegetable there is, okay. Have it at 6 o'clock at night, okay. Make sure that during the day, okay, there's no soda, okay, a gallon of water a day, and just change the content of that last meal and the time. You will be down 20 pounds in a month, I promise you. I'll give you one of my hands if you're not. And you know what it's like to give away a hand as a surgeon.
Scott, he's totally right, and this segues perfect into the last bullet point, which is kind of like the ultimate fat loss supplement protocol. Dr. Osborne and I are not going to reveal what we've been doing. We're kind of doing a couple of little biohacks and tweaks right now with some of the supplements that we use, both over the counter and prescription, and we think it's going to be pretty awesome stuff. But what you can do, and by the way, Doc, Scott bought the MD2, so the Meltdown 2. Which is, theacrine and caffeine and some yohambine, I think HCl or whatever. And he likes it. He says he feels like it's legal speed. So the only thing, and Doc, I want you to jump in here and add some stuff in a second, but Scott, so to take what he just gave you, which is, well, hold on, let's take a step back and let's look at your diet. So your first meal, you're going to eliminate the English muffin that's whole wheat or whatever crap, You can have some form of carbohydrate in the morning, but don't eat a whole wheat English muffin. Whole wheat, by the way, is gone, okay? To lose fat, you're not eating whole wheat anymore, okay? It's loaded with gluten and gluten germ and God knows what other processed crap that they put in this stuff nowadays, but it's really not whole wheat, so just get rid of that. If you're going to eat bread and you really can't get rid of bread, then go buy the Ezekiel bread and buy the grain Ezekiel bread and use that, okay? So that's what you're going to do, or just get rid of the bread altogether and just eat your normal breakfast.
Dude, I'm cool with getting rid of bread, man. I don't care. It's just convenient having the muffin around the egg and the sausage.
No, it is. But again, as Brett said, we don't want you to do extreme. We don't want to give somebody something that they're not going to follow. So if you need bread, go get Ezekiel bread. You can get it at Trader Joe's, okay? That's obviously at Whole Foods too, but it's cheap. It's not cheap. You can buy a loaf for I think it's $3.69 for a loaf, but you're not eating that much of it, so it's not like it's costing you a lot of money. You can easily handle it for a month. One loaf will go for a month. So, but what are you doing in the morning though, before breakfast? Are you doing any cardio at all?
No, not in the morning. I try to get up and drink 25 ounces of water before I do anything.
Okay, well, that's great. The only thing I would add, and Doc talks about this in his protocol in the book, and obviously we follow it again religiously. But you can do, if you're not weight training that day, you can do some very, very moderate, I wouldn't say low intensity because you need to lose body fat, but some moderate intensity endurance work. Everybody wants to call it cardio, but we like to call it endurance work, which is you can walk on a treadmill, you can ride a stationary bike, you could, something. You could run or jog or whatever, but I don't really like that because it's bad on the joints. But if you can do that in the morning, that's better. So how I would replace it is if you can do this cardio in the morning, You take your VPX meltdown MD2 at the same time, right? That's your coffee now. You do your cardio, and then you eat your food maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes later after you finish your cardio. And then you're good at lunchtime. You're good. That's fine. But then in the afternoon, don't have that trail mix bar. Have something cleaner. What would you recommend he replace that trail mix or that granola bar, Doc, with for his afternoon snack?
Yeah. Why don't you just get yourself? Why don't you just get yourself a good protein drink that's going to have
this protein powder?
Carbohydrates. So Scott, just as a general rule, okay, if you really want to, get this six-pack look, okay, what we're trying to do here, what Jay, Monica, and I are trying to do here is really replace all diets, okay, as I've said 1,000 times, they're all the same. Okay, all they are, forget about counting calories, okay, I'm not concerned about that. All I care about is that your insulin signal is low. Okay, so that means that you just need to lower the amount of simple carbohydrates or sugars that you're putting into your body. Okay, you can put carbohydrates into your body, okay, but you're not to eat high glycemic index carbohydrates, okay, i.e. sugars, okay? So lots of vegetables, and again, I always come back to, broccoli, but you can go and buy a book, okay, on the glycemic indices, okay, and you want to make sure that you're using these low glycemic index carbohydrates, or keeping your what's called your glycemic load, okay, your total for the day, low, okay. So if you do that, okay, because we don't want you running around like a lot of these guys on Atkins diet and they're tired all the time, by virtue of the fact that there's no carbohydrate in their system, we want you basically just to replace anything that has simple carbohydrates in it with these low glycemic index carbohydrates, okay, which are fine during midday, but they're not fine. The carbohydrates are not as good at night as you're approaching that fasted state. So if you're going to stack your carbohydrates, say as an example, your 100 grams of carbohydrates, and that's really a good start for most people, okay, 100 grams of carbohydrates per day, okay, it might be too little for you, it may be too much, okay, if you just keep that number in mind, okay, and fill the rest of your calories, okay, with protein and good fats, okay, you will lose weight. You have no choice. Your body is the same as mine. It's the same as Jay's, same as Monica's, okay? So if we just keep your insulin signal low, okay, by virtue of the fact that you're minimizing the amount of high glycemic index carbohydrates, okay, and keeping your total carbohydrate load, okay, which should be only low glycemic index carbohydrates to less than 100 grams or around 100 grams, okay, you're going to lose weight. Stack the carbohydrates earlier in the day, okay, so that you do have energy, okay? At night, okay, by virtue of the fact that you're not eating a lot of carbohydrate for that last meal, as an example, okay, the chicken, okay, if you want to have just, a couple of chicken breasts and just water, okay, I know it may sound very, very unappetizing, okay, deal with it, okay, because you're going to, I'm telling you, if you do this for a month, okay, and you really, really just are very, very aware of just the one number, just how much carbohydrates you're putting into your body every single day, okay, including the good carbohydrates, okay, if you're just aware of how much carbohydrate and you keep that number, you just keep a number of 100 in your mind, the weight is going to come right off. It has no choice. Your body works the same way because all you're doing is you're lowering your insulin signal. So there's no magic supplement, okay, like what Jay said, and he's very much correct, okay, you can use any of these thermogenics, okay, before you go to the gym or wherever you happen to be doing your fasted cardio. Right. And what you have to make sure of, okay, is that, remember, when you're in a low insulin state, you are fat burning, okay? Insulin makes you build fat and it makes you build muscle, okay? Fat and muscle. So if you turn the insulin off, your body thinks that it's starving, okay, because it sort of is, and this is what metformin does. It's a caloric restriction mimetic, so it almost turns your body into a fat-burning machine, so to speak. Although it's not marketed as that, but that's what it does. If you just lower your insulin signal and keep your insulin signal down and go into the cardio, okay, if you will, the endurance work on a fast, okay, you're going to have this augmented caloric, or you're going to have this augmented fat burn, okay, which is going to be even more augmented by the fact that you're taking some sort of thermogenic, okay. That means if you can have a cup of coffee, okay, you can have one of these MD2, whatever it is, okay, you can have a hydroxy cup, okay, but if you do have a cup of coffee, you make sure that you don't put any sugar, okay, in that coffee, okay, because you want to have quote-unquote energy to finish that endurance session. Okay, you don't drink a glass of orange juice because it's quote unquote healthy for you. As soon as you do that, you have turned off fat burning. You're done. Okay, you've wasted it. Okay, so don't go into that session completely catabolic, burning fat. Okay, because you're burning fat when you're sleeping. Okay, and don't put anything that has sugar in your mouth. Okay, the coffee's fine. It's black. Okay, period. Or if you're just going to use the thermogenic, use the thermogenic and have the water like you're already doing. That's fine. Okay, but if you just sort of figure these things out and understand what I'm talking about your insulin signals, then you will be able to forever lose weight. Okay. The other thing that I would recommend, real quick, is just an aside, and I talk about this in the book as well. Buy a glucometer.
Yep.
Okay. Buy a glucometer. Okay. You can buy them at CVS or Walgreens. Okay. They cost nothing. They're like $15. Okay. And check your fasting glucose. Okay. Once a week, as an example, when you get up. If you are very sensitive to insulin, okay, if you are very sensitive to insulin, okay, which means that your diet, okay, is filled with low glycemic index carbohydrates, you're fasting sugars, okay, you're fasting sugar probably right now because you're carbohydrate sensitive. My guess is that you're fasting glucose probably in the 90s, okay. I need you in the mid 70s, okay, mid to high 70s, low 80s, okay. Once you get down there, okay, on your fast, on your glucose sticks, okay, your finger sticks, you're going to be shedding weight like crazy, okay. That's an indirect measure of how sensitive you are to insulin or to carbohydrates, I should say. So if you can work on getting that fasting sugar down, I can assure you, okay, if you can get it down into the 70s, you're doing something right, okay. You're doing something right. You're going to be burning a lot of fat off your body. It's easy.
Yeah, so a great answer, Doc. So Scott, to summarize really quick, and then we're going to jump into some questions here. If you do your cardio 5 days a week, okay, so I don't know about your weight training. We're going to talk about that in the next hangout. We're going to critique you on that in the next hangout, so we're going to dial you in completely. But if you do cardio on an empty stomach, as he calls it, fasted endurance training, take your thermogenic, drink some coffee, don't put any sugar, shit, calories, or anything in it. And not eat any carbohydrates, okay, after 7 o'clock at night. And the carbohydrates that you do eat at the 6 o'clock meal, as Doc said, are green, preferably broccoli, preferably asparagus, green beans, something like that. You will lose 20 pounds. I mean, literally impossible not to.
Okay, quick question. Are beans a bad carb?
Yes. I mean, they're not as optimal as a green carb. Just think right now your carbs that you're eating are green vegetables, okay? You could eat an unlimited amount of salad, like at night, like if you want to get like romaine or iceberg lettuce and buy those big bags that they sell in any grocery store and they're dirt cheap, and throw in your protein, your chicken breasts, or if they're ground turkey patties or something like that, and throw in a little bit of, like virgin olive oil or MCT oil, or even like the Newman's virgin dressing, which is just pure fat. And throw that on there. I mean, not a lot, a tablespoon and a half, that's great. But no, you don't want beans because beans just don't digest well.
Cool.
Anything you want to add, Doc?
No, Scott, along the lines of what, sort of as a corollary to what Jay was just saying there, do not be afraid to eat good fats, okay? Why? Fat is not insulinogenic, okay? So that means that it doesn't cause insulin to be secreted, okay, by the pancreas, okay? That said, it doesn't have anything to do with, fat storage. So just because you eat a lot of fat, a lot of olive oil, does not mean that you're going to be fat, okay? If that were the case, then people that were on the Atkins diet, okay, who eat tons and tons of fat, okay, and I have my issues with that diet, so we're not going to talk about it, but it's not the best diet, but that's a ketogenic diet. The reason why they lose weight, despite the fact that they're eating cheeseburgers, is because the fat unto itself, okay, although some of it is inflammatory fat, and that's really one of the major issues I have with it, it does not cause insulin to be secreted by the pancreas, okay, and by virtue of that, you're not turning on fat storage, okay, and by virtue of that, okay, by virtue of the fact that it's not turning it on, it's just leaving insulin where it is. It's neutral. So what it really comes down to, okay, is not protein intake, okay, is not fat intake, it's carbohydrate intake, period. Okay, so if you understand that, and you understand that sugar, okay, high glycemic index carbohydrates are going to cause your insulin to spike, are going to cause you to put fat on and muscle, okay, then you will, and the opposite is true, a lack thereof, okay, so a lack of carbohydrates is going to turn that process off, okay, your bodily insulin is going to be low, you're going to be in a catabolic state, you're going to be using your fat, okay, to meet the energy demands of your muscle, okay, and of your body in general, okay? So if you could just remember that concept, okay, and the fact that you want to remain in that catabolic state for as long as possible, i.e. when you are sleeping, okay? So as an example, if you eat at 6 o'clock at night and you wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, that's really 12 hours, okay, that you are going with very, very, very low insulin. So 12 hours, okay, you are going to be burning, or say 8 hours, okay, once everything really shuts down, 8 hours of that, you're going to be burning predominantly fat, okay, in the resting state, okay, muscle preferentially burns fat, okay, for ATP, for energy, to maintain itself, as opposed to glucose. Muscle preferentially burns fat, okay, once you get to that point where you are in that fasted state, okay, it's burning fat, okay? So therefore, the more muscle you have on your body, okay, and this is, you know, this is a topic of another discussion, how to get that muscle on your body, be lean, and we talked a little bit about this with the caloric, the carbohydrate cycling, the caloric cycling, whatever you want to call it the last time, but that's not where you are right now. Right now, your goal is to just lose the fat, okay? And if you want to do that, okay, you want to just make yourself catabolic, okay? Are you going to feel tired sometimes because you're not putting candy in your mouth, or there's less sugar floating around? You will, okay? But the body tends to adapt, okay, over time. And the way you, as Jay had alluded to before, the way you sort of get yourself past that is you use the fat, okay, from olive oil, from MCT oil, okay, to give you energy, okay? Because fat, okay, when it's oxidized, okay, provides the body with a heck of a lot more ATP, okay, energy, okay, than does sugar in actuality. So to be running around on burning fat, okay, is not a bad existence, okay, except in the very, very beginning, okay, where somebody like you, who maybe is addicted to carbohydrates like we all are to some degree, once you turn that off, you're going to be miserable for a little while. You're going to go through literally withdrawal. Okay, and you'll go through withdrawal for just a little bit, and it may take you 3 days, 5 days a week, okay? But during that time, I would just recommend that you augment your diet, okay, with olive oils and things like that, okay? If you feel really, really hungry before bed, there's nothing wrong, okay, and this may sound miserable, okay, but there's nothing wrong with having a couple of tablespoons of olive oil just to sort of get rid of that craving, okay? And
I've done that before.
Yeah, I've done it, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's not going to shut down your fat burning. It will not. Okay.
Yeah,
it's good for you. Go ahead.
Just a quick question, as far as going back to what you said, as far as bad fats, good fats. A lot of people right now eat protein bars. What are your thoughts on those as far as a snack, like a midday snack, or are there certain ones that are better than others, or what should people look for if they're going to have a bar?
So you have to be very, very careful with protein bars, and again, it's all in the context of goals. Okay, so you know, if I'm trying to get myself a little bit bigger, okay, yes, I'll have some protein bars that have a little bit of the more the simple carbohydrates. I like that insulin signal. Okay, but again, this is not Scott's, not me. Okay, and if you want to, and there are protein bars that cater to people that are trying to build mass. Okay, Metrex has bars that are filled with sugar. Okay, and they're filled with protein. Okay, no, and you know what? For people that are trying to get themselves bigger, bulk up. Okay, it's like buying Gainer's Fuel, the old Twin Lab product, which I lived on when I was younger. Okay, Jay, I'm sure you did too. It has tons of sugar. It has tons of calories. Okay, it will make you bigger. It will make you bigger. It'll make you fat, and it will certainly augment your muscle mass. But you're going to get bulky. Okay, on that stuff. There are, Scott, for you. Okay, there are low glycemic index bars. Okay, which have very, very minimal to no sugar. Okay, these are the things that you want to use. Okay, you know, and they are out there. Okay, and I don't recall the names of these things, but I've had every single protein bar in existence, literally, as I'm sure Jay has. We've tried them all. Okay, they all taste good in the beginning, and then they start tasting like crap. Okay,
The protein powder, I feel like I
what
could
for you, Scott,
supplement.
low sugar, no sugar, no sugar, no sugar.
Okay.
That's it. Okay. Yes, some of these things have a lot of saturated fat, but saturated fat isn't as bad as people think it is. Okay, particularly in the milieu of low sugar. Okay, you can have saturated fat. It's okay. You don't want to have saturated fat. Okay, tons and tons of saturated fat with sugars. Okay, and unfortunately, a lot of these bars are filled with both saturated fats. Okay, and they're filled with sugar. Okay, not a good combination. Okay, so I would stay away from things like that. For you, just buy the low glycemic index bars, and you'll be fine.
Scott, real quick on the protein powders, to make it simple, and Dr. Osborne agrees with me on this, just go to Costco, dude. They have 2 protein powders at Costco, okay? Actually, they have like 5. But to make it simple, buy the Muscle Milk chocolate, okay? It's a bulk bag. It's like 4 pounds. Yep. It's like 4 pounds. It's like $32. It'll last you a whole month and a half. Well, for you, it'll last you a couple months. And then there's another combat powder by Muscle Farm that's cookies and cream flavor. It tastes amazing, and it's a multi-amino acid spectrum mix of different protein powders. Throw those together every time you make a protein shake, like 1 scoop of each, and you're golden. Okay? Yep. You know, it's funny because Monica just brought up a really great question that she kind of just it came out of left field because I want to answer some of these questions and have Doc because I have so many questions. It's ridiculous. But we'll talk about this on the next show. I think it's a great topic. But the whole conversation of protein bars, there's a lot of lawsuits right now going on in the supplement industry. And the truth is, and Doc knows this better than anybody, is that majority of people in the supplement industry are scam artists, and their products are not, whenever they're tested, they never hold up to label claims. And in fact, and I'm just going to use this as a teaser, and I don't want to talk anything about it because I want to answer these questions, but the guy that manufactures the Quest bars, which everybody loves because they taste like taste like candy bars, well, guess what? They are freaking candy bars. So we're not going to get into that. We're not going to get into that right now because we'll save it for the next hangout because it's an amazing topic because there's literally millions of people eating it. That guy's laughing all the way to the bank, whatever crap he's putting in his bars. But so Doc, I got some questions. Good. I want to jump right in because I had some amazing questions. So the first question is, I've been using metformin for 2 months now at 500 milligrams AM and PM. I have lost 15 pounds. I am getting really lean. I'm 53 years old, and I'm shocked at how lean I've gotten. I'm concerned that I may start sacrificing muscle for leanness. How do you know when you're in a catabolic state? But by the way, before you answer, I look better than I've ever looked thanks to your advice.
Bam.
Right. So, okay, if you were listening to the conversation, by virtue of the fact that you're losing weight, you are catabolic.
Right.
Period. Okay. There's no being anabolic and losing weight. Okay. Again, anabolic. Okay. Catabolic. Anabolic, you're putting muscle and fat on. Catabolic, you are shedding both muscle and fat.
Right.
That's it. Okay. So of course you're catabolic. There's no question about it. 100% you're catabolic. Period. Okay. And metformin is a or when you are calorie restricted, when you are starving, okay, you are burning fat preferentially. Metformin puts you closer and closer to that. But I'm going to say it as I've said it 1,000 times. It is not a diet aid.
Right.
We don't use it like that. We use it for health benefits. One of the side effects is that you lose weight. Okay, there are some people who use it as a diet aid, and that's fine. I don't prescribe it as a diet aid, okay, for weight loss. Okay, I prescribe it for longevity purposes, if you will, and it has to do with throughput through this pathway that's called the mTOR pathway. Okay, and I would recommend Googling that because it's a long-winded explanation. But of course, if you're losing weight, you are catabolic, and are you sacrificing muscle? By virtue of your metformin usage, you are. Okay, there's no question about it. Okay, and this is a topic. This is a question that is often asked of me, by people that are friends with me on Facebook. Wait a minute, how am I going to gain muscle if I'm using metformin? And that is 100% correct. It's very, very hard. Just like it's very, very hard to, and we've talked about this numerous times, to put muscle on your body and at the same time lose fat. Well, you're either anabolic or you're catabolic, you're not both. So if you're losing fat, then you're catabolic, okay? You're also losing muscle. So can you put muscle on your body at the same time that you're losing fat? The answer is no, okay? It's one or the other, but not both, okay? Now, the way you get around that as we discussed during the last hangout a couple of weeks ago, is you use this, whatever you want to call it, carbohydrate cycling, caloric cycling. I've heard it called 19 different things. Okay, carbohydrate cycling is probably the better term. But anyway, that's what you're doing there. You're trying to, on the days that you are training heavy, you're trying to turn your insulin on. On the days that you are doing more of the endurance, and I don't like to use the word, the cardio stuff, whatever, you're trying to augment the fat burning, so you're lowering your carbohydrate signal, and by virtue of that, you're lowering your insulin signal. Okay, and, you're doing what metformin is doing for your body, except not in a pill, but by virtue of what you're doing with your carbohydrates. Again, low carbohydrates equals metformin equals calorie restriction equals fat burning equals catabolism. So that's how people that are very, very experienced try to beat the system. They try to, on the days that they are building, training heavy, turn their insulin on a little bit, but on the days that they're not, and days that they're not off, but the days that they are not training as aggressively, maybe for more endurance purposes, for fat burning purposes, they're turning on the lipolytic, the fat burning process, either by virtue of their metformin usage, by virtue of their low carbohydrate intake, okay, and they're cycling that. And that's sort of the way that you sort of skirt around the problem. And it does work, but it's not for the inexperienced. But the answer to your question, okay, you 100% are catabolic, and you are losing muscle, and you're losing fat, and it's hard to ride that line. My suggestion to people that are trying to do this is either do what I do, either use carbohydrate cycling, or with your metformin usage, and you didn't hear me say this, but I'm going to say it, back the metformin off a little bit on the days that you are training heavy, okay, and bump the metformin up on the days that you are training for more fat-burning purposes when you're on your low carbohydrate, on that cycle, okay? I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes great sense, and we're going to have a blog detailing Dr. Osborne, myself, his girlfriend Melissa, and Monica and I are doing a photo shoot for the next book, Get Serious Volume 2, which comes out, Advanced Strategies, which is coming out later this year. We're doing a photo shoot in April 4th for that, and we'll be planning, our diet and our training and everything around that. We'll be doing very, very detailed anal retentive blogs detailing all that. But real quick, Scott, I know it's 4 after. I have 2 more questions. Are you okay to go ask these 2 more questions for the doc?
Yeah, dude, I'm cool, man. I'm not going anywhere.
Time?
Doc, are you good?
I'm fine.
Okay, awesome. These are really good questions. So Doc, I'm using testosterone cypionate through a doctor. I'm using what you recommended, which is between 150 and 200 milligrams per week. But my questions are, how would you suggest optimal dosing? Right now, I'm taking 1 shot a week, but I've read on across the web, and I've listened to some of Jay's podcasts in the past about doing split doses. Do you feel that 1 dose, if I took 2 shots, say 100 milligrams per week of testosterone, 100 milligrams twice a week, same dosage, is any better than 1 shot? And can you explain?
Right, and that's another question that I receive often. Jay and I have had numerous conversations about this. It really comes down to, and I've been on both types of regimens in the past. It really comes down to self-experimentation. Okay, you've got to experiment. I don't think, and again, you need to talk to your doctor about this. I don't have any issues with my patients calling me and asking me if they can change their regimen to twice a week, a half a cc or 100 milligrams twice a week, as opposed to once a week. It's fine. Again, this has to do with your metabolism, which is individualized, okay, and related to your genetics, how your metabolism affects, okay, the levels of the testosterone in your blood. So if you happen to feel better using a twice-a-week dosing regimen, and it really is by feel. I've told you this. I've said this 1,000 times. Okay, hormone replacement treatment, okay, is not about numbers, so to speak. It's about how one feels. Okay, so if an individual feels better on this this twice-weekly regimen, okay, of a half a cc or 100 milligrams, by all means, use it. Okay. it's totally fine. I've always been fine. I personally can't really tell a difference whether or not I'm using something once a week or splitting it and using it twice a week. It all seems to blend together to me, and it all works fine. But there are some people who are adamant about using this twice weekly dosing, and I really don't have any issues with it. Again, it's all by feel. Okay, it does complicate things a little bit when I'm testing people. Number-wise, I will tell you when you're doing it twice a week, or I even have people doing it every other day, smaller doses. It does complicate the test. In that regard, I'm not so happy about them doing it. But as long as they come to me and they don't have numbers that are through the roof, I'm okay, and they're feeling great, and they're not having any untoward side effects. Okay, so typically, if you just stay around that 1 cc a week, again, I'm just using that as a general rule. However you want to split it up, excuse me, is fine by me. I don't have any real issues, and it's really just by feel, and it's not so much by by number. So that's really the answer. It's totally fine. It's totally legal to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's something else that I stress in the book, and I stress with my patients, is that you have to be willing to fiddle a little bit around until you figure out what is optimal for you. It's not this is not South Beach diet. The reason why diets don't work is because diets typically don't work is because it's not a one-size-fits-all. There will be some individuals who do really, really well on protocols like the Warrior Diet, and there are going to be individuals who do, which is a once-a-day meal, Scott, in case you're not familiar. And there are individuals who do absolutely horrible on it and do better with 5 times a day. Eating 5 or 6 times a day, and either or is fine by me. I don't really care. I just care that we're, that you're leaning out, that you're more muscular. It's the same thing with any of these other little biochemical tweaks. Because remember, injecting testosterone is no different than modulating your food. All you're doing is you're playing with your body's biochemistry.
So the last question, and Scott, we appreciate, and you too, Doc, staying over on this. And this is a great question, and I want to answer before you jump in, Doc. It's really for you. So, I appreciate this person asking this question, but so what are your thoughts on the medical use of testosterone? Why has it become such a taboo topic, not just in America, but globally? Why do so many men fear to embrace it as a viable tool to improve their quality of life? You guys, meaning Jay and Dr. Osborne, you guys are a prime example of its life-enhancing benefits. Now, before Dr. Osborne answers, I just want to say, just throw a plug in there. The book that I wrote that's been kind of sitting in a holding pattern for the last 3 or 4 months due to some legal concerns is now back on, and we are going to release this book. It's called The Definitive Testosterone Replacement Therapy Manual. We're going to release it. Dr. Osborne has helped me author it. He has been a very, very big contributor to it. We are going to release this book sometime in the next, I would say, month and a half, perhaps less. And we tackle this question in depth in this book, okay? And the great news, and a lot of people already know this, but for guys that don't who are going to be watching this, we're going to be releasing the book for free, okay? No catches. We're literally going to make it as a downloadable PDF from our site. It's absolutely a golden book. I mean, Dr. Osborne could talk about it. He's obviously been intimately involved in it. But
I've read it, and it's great.
For the people that want to actually, like old school, baby boomer types that want to have like ink and paper in their hand and they want an actual bound printed copy, we'll do that too. You're just going to have to pay for shipping and distribution costs and actual print costs, but it won't be much. It'll probably be like $10 or something. But anyway, you want to go ahead and answer that question, Doc?
No, I'm gonna defer to you. I mean, you are the expert, and I would say that you have the same experience as I do, if not more experience. So I'm gonna defer to you, Jay. I mean, I think I've spoken enough this evening, and I will add to the response if need be. But I think that you can answer it as well, if not better than I can.
Okay, cool. I appreciate that. Thanks. So my answer. So this is a great question, and I think my answer is kind of diverse, Scott. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. It may take me a minute or two, but it really comes down to your age I think the older baby boomer generation, older than the millennials, and Doc and I are at like 43, 44, 45 years old, represent kind of the edge of the millennial versus the boomer generation. But the boomer generation, which is I think around 49 now and up, it's all about morality to them. They grew up where the use of medications like testosterone were considered drugs, and drugs are bad for you, and using drugs is cheating. And they also had the whole baseball backdrop, and they've had professional sports and drug testing and blood doping and all this nonsense in the background. So their mindset is one of it's cheating to use testosterone. Okay, but the truth is, and again we tackle this in depth in the book. Is that testosterone is a hormone. It's a naturally occurring hormone in the male body and the female body. And as you age, the natural biological reaction of hormones is to cessate, right, to lessen. So as you get older, and as Doc has very eloquently talked about this in previous hangouts, the rate of aging is literally like doubling after 16 years of age. So your lifespan is shortening and your risk of death is accelerating, but all the hormones that occur in your body are also becoming less and less and less. So as a 30, 35, 40, 45-year-old man, you don't have much testosterone anyway. So the mindset of cheating or this taboo subject of not wanting to use test is absurd, because the reality is why would you not want to boost a natural occurring hormone in your body by taking a supplemental form of it, so that you can maintain your virility, maintain your youthfulness, maintain your libido, maintain your feeling of power, a feeling of masculinity, of being a strong, powerful male. And I think that it's a subject that as guys like Dr. Osborne and I continue to push this out there, and we continue to show how you can use it in the greatest context or the greater context of health, and that it doesn't have to be used in a sense where it's abused like anabolic steroid users or professional bodybuilders take it, where they take super physiologic dosages. That's not what we recommend. We're nothing along those lines. I mean, we recommend testosterone for a very, very, very slight dosage to increase and improve the things that you would have had normally as an 18 to 20, 22-year-old guy. Okay, so that's what we recommend testosterone for. So when people start understanding that in that context, I think the taboo-ness of it, or the whole like, wow, it's risky, I don't want to engage in that kind of like quote-unquote underground mindset, that starts to lessen and go away. What would you say, Doc?
Oh, and I think that's a perfect answer. This has historically been considered taboo, when in actuality that is just it's not short-sighted. It's just it's an ignorant stance. Replacing testosterone, utilizing bioidentical testosterone, is simply replacing the hormone that is decreasing as we get older, and may in fact, and we've spoken about this too, may in fact be the etiology of our aging. So we don't really know the answer to our question as to whether the question is whether or not we age because our hormones decline or our hormones decline because of our age. So when we talk about using testosterone, we're not talking about, Jay, and we talked about this at the first SOAR seminar. We're not talking about Lyle Alzado.
Right.
That's not what our idea of testosterone supplementation is. Our idea of testosterone supplementation is simply normalizing or optimizing one's level of testosterone as it begins to decline by virtue of our age, or the fact that we are aging by virtue of the fact that our testosterone is decreasing. So, if anything, I mean, this is a treatment for the disease known as aging, this degenerative disease of aging. One of the treatments, or one of the modalities that we treat this disease, is by hormonal optimization. We are not talking about black market underground steroid usage. Yes, testosterone is a steroid hormone, just like progesterone and estrogen. These are all part of the steroid hormone cascade. Okay, so does that mean if an individual is on estradiol, a woman, that they too are on steroids? Well, You're damn right. Okay, they are on steroids. Okay, they don't even have to be on testosterone. That just means that this is just part of the steroidal hormone group. Okay, yes, testosterone is a steroid. So what? It means nothing. People have typically associated this steroid usage, okay, with something that's absolutely horrific, when in actuality, the only thing that we're trying to do is promote health and longevity by virtue of our testosterone usage. So those stigmas, these walls have got to be broken down, and I think the book does an excellent job of talking about this and clarifying it. And that's why it's really a must read for every male and every female. That's I would say mid-20s. Okay, people should start becoming at least aware of the fact that they don't have to be victimized by this disease of aging, provided they take the right steps. One of which is hormonal replacement.
Absolutely. Awesome, man. That's a great answer. Scott, did you want to add anything? I know we're way over. I really appreciate you taking the time. Did you want to add anything?
No, I'm good. I got my plan. So thank you, Doc. Thank you, Jay. Monica, I'm excited.
Thanks, you guys.
Yeah, so thanks, Doc. Scott, what I'm going to do is when we recap this thing, I'm going to put your diet. I'm going to list it on and write it out on the blog, and so you'll have a kind of like a place to go as a daytimer to remind you of everything. But I'll list it all out and say, don't do this, do this.
Cool.
Awesome.
I love it. Thanks, man.
Cool.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, guys.
Night, you guys.